These are football legends who turned into criminal bad boys. We'll start with Diego Maradona before discussing Ronaldinho and Dani Alves. Maradona famously scored the Hand of God goal, but in his later years he also had some legal troubles. In 1994, he pulled out an air rifle and aimed it at reporters near his Buenos Aires estate, resulting in a suspended sentence of 2 years and 10 months. Additionally, in 2009, the Italian government discovered that Maradona owed 37 million euros in unpaid taxes from his time playing for Napoli, and the Italian police confiscated some of his assets, including earrings worth 4,000 euros to settle the debt. Ronaldinho was involved in a criminal case in Paraguay in March 2020. He was charged with entering the country using a fake passport along with his brother, Roberto de Assis Moreira. The brothers were detained and later released on bail, but the case continued to draw international attention. They were also charged with being involved in a criminal organization that produced and distributed false documents. The case caused a significant stir in the football world, as Ronaldinho was one of the sport's most recognizable and beloved figures. After months of legal proceedings, Ronaldinho and his brother ultimately accepted a plea deal that resulted in their release from custody. The case left a significant mark on his reputation, as he was widely criticized for his involvement in criminal activity. Please hit that like button if you're enjoying the video. Dani Alves. Alves' case is maybe the most recent one, as he was arrested by Barcelona police in January 2023 over sexual assault allegations. In January 2023, the 39-year-old footballer Dani Alves was arrested by Barcelona police over sexual assault allegations. He was accused of assaulting a woman in a nightclub in December 2022. Despite vehemently denying the allegations, he is still in jail and facing trial under the new only yes means yes sexual consent law. His lawyer has proposed alternatives such as withdrawing his passport or getting a restraining order. But the court seems to have other ideas. If found guilty, he could face 4 to 12 years in jail under the new legislation, which makes consent the deciding factor. And if unable to prove consent, then there might be no way out for him. Cantona. This incident was quite a famous one, and it led Cantona to serve 24 hours in prison. Not to mention, the sentence was supposed to be about 2 weeks, but was later reduced to 24 hours. And this jail time also later motivated him to make one of his most famous speeches. In 1995, during the match between Manchester United and Crystal Palace, Cantona was pulled out of the field after he kicked Richard Shaw. He then launched a kick into the crowd, and a fan named Matthew Simmons got his face smashed because of it. He didn't only serve 24 hours in jail, but also had to cover 120 hours of community service. Talking about kicks, hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to Kick yet. Benjamin Mendy. Benjamin Mendy was a Manchester City footballer who was accused of sexual assault against young women, resulting in a total of 11 counts against him. Although he lost his reputation and career, in January 2023, the case came to a partial conclusion with a retrial still on its way for 1 count of rape and another for attempted rape. He was also accused of raping 5 women along with his friend, Luis Zaha Maturi, but the jury was unable to prove this and found him not guilty. Mendy was arrested twice, first in 2020 which led to his suspension by the club, and then in 2021 when he was charged with rape. Jan Molby. The former Danish footballer had a brush with the law due to reckless driving during the 1988 to 1989 season. He served a 3-month prison sentence for this offense. However, he remained a fan favorite during his 12-year tenure with Liverpool. Despite his legal troubles, the club and his supporters stood by him, and he later repaid their loyalty by supporting the team during the Hillsborough Stadium disaster. He attended numerous funerals and played a small role in the Reds' title-winning season of 1989 and 1990. Cesar Aparecido. The Brazilian player was rising to the top at the point where fate took a turn. During the early 90s, Aparecido was helping his team reach the state's top division. He even helped them to get a big fat bonus too. However, there was something he got into trouble for. Apparently, the player tipped off some pounds to his bonus, and that's how a heist was organized. This guy actually helped organize a heist. But he couldn't stay hidden for long and was caught for it. This crime got him 5 years and 4 months in jail. He got out of prison in 1998 and started his football career again. Craig Thompson. He was young and amazing at the sport during the time. He was also set to be a fixture at the club, however, things went south. He was placed on the sex offenders registry and was also fined $4,000. Apparently, he was put on the registry for lewd, libidinous, and indecent behavior toward 2 young girls, aged 12 and 14 respectively. But the worst part about this was that Thompson got into contact with a defender and loaned him to the Lithuanian side FBK Kaunas. It was a club that Hearts majority shareholder Vladimir Romanov owned at the time. He later did return to football, but his fans never really supported him the same way again. Stig Toof. The Danish midfielder lost it all when he was reported to have some kind of connection with the Hells Angels. Also, he kind of loved making a mess on any joyous occasion, which obviously never did any good. In 2002, during a team celebration at Cafe Ketchup in Copenhagen, Tufting headbutted one of the staff members and punched the other one. The problem went to the court and the player was sentenced to 4 months in jail on assault charges. And just 2 years after this, he was once again punching people at an AGF Aarhus Christmas lunch. No wonder he's on this list. Hughes Hiddink. While others mostly go to jail for guns, drugs, or sex, Hiddink went a step ahead and committed white-collar crimes. Hughes Hiddink, the former football manager, was convicted of tax fraud in 2007. At this time, he was working as the manager of the Russian national team. Reports suggest that he evaded over $1.4 million in taxes. Apparently, he falsely claimed that he was a resident of Belgium in 2002 and 2003, and even listed his home in Belgium as his primary residence. But the Dutch government was more intelligent. They caught what he was doing there and sentenced him to 6 months in jail. However, this jail time was suspended later, but he still had to pay 45,000 euros in fines. He didn't really save that money. Peter Story. This guy had allegations as interesting as his defensive skills. It turns out his one and only weakness was women after all. Not only did he serve 3 years because he was involved in a gold counterfeiting plot, but also faced a 28-day suspension after he cursed out a traffic warden. He also spent 6 months suspended and paid a £700 fine when it was revealed that this guy was running a whole brothel. And then once again, he was caught smuggling imported porn videos. So yeah, he served 28 days for that too. Do you even know where he hid those videos? It was inside the spare tire of his car. Gary Charles. Despite being a great footballer, he had his flaws too. He struggled with alcoholism and this got him into a string of convictions as well as jail sentences. The first 2 were right in the early years of his career. Once it was for drunk driving, and later he was caught removing his monitoring alcohol tag. And then in 2005, he invited more trouble and was arrested for assaulting a woman in a taxi office. Apparently, she made a joke about his career. For this incident, he was sentenced to community service and a fine. But then in 2006, he threatened the bouncer with a knife. This time, they had to send him on a long vacation. He got 12 months for offending while he was still on probation. Adam Chapman. Adam Chapman's story is a tragic one that no football fan would ever want to hear. As a young and promising footballer, he had his entire career ahead of him. However, one fateful night of reckless behavior involving alcohol and drugs led to a fatal collision with another car, resulting in the death of a 27-year-old man. Chapman was sentenced to 30 months in a youth offenders institute and his football dreams were shattered. He has since been working hard to make amends for his mistakes and turn his life around. And this serves as a reminder that drinking and driving can have devastating consequences. Bruno Fernandez. Bruno Fernandez was sentenced to 22 years in prison for ordering the murder of his baby mama. It's a crime that's almost too terrible to comprehend. Fernandez was just 25 years old when he was arrested for his involvement in the crime, which took place in 2010. He was accused of arranging for the kidnapping and murder of Eliza Zamudio, his ex-girlfriend and the mother of his child. The crime was so brutal and mindless that we won't even bother going into the details. Fernandez was convicted and sentenced to 22 years in prison, a sentence that many felt was just. After doing only 7 years, the dude got released in 2017 and was allowed to go back to his football career. Reuben Seedo. Seedo was arrested in February 2018 on charges of attempted murder, assault, armed robbery, and intimidation. The allegations against him are serious, and if proven true, would mark a shocking fall from grace for a player who was once considered one of the most promising young defenders in Europe. His club Villarreal was quick to respond to the news, suspending Seedo's contract and his salary pending on the outcome of the investigation. It's a move that sends a clear message that the club takes these allegations seriously, and they will not tolerate any behavior that puts the safety of others at risk. Alexis Zarate. Alexis Zarate has been sentenced to prison for rape. The case gained widespread attention in Argentina, as the victim, who had been dating Zarate's teammate at the time, bravely spoke out about the assault and sought justice for the crime committed against her. The court's decision to jail Zarate is a crucial reminder that society will not tolerate sexual assault and rape as they are severe crimes. The case highlights the need for continued efforts to prevent sexual violence and to provide support and resources for survivors, even in cases where the perpetrator is a public figure. Will Allen. Will Allen ran a Ponzi scheme through his company, Capital Financial Partners, which raised millions of dollars from investors, including professional athletes, with promise of high returns. Instead of investing the money in legitimate ventures, Allen and his partner used it to fund their lavish lifestyle and pay off earlier investors, resulting in money laundering charges. Allen was sentenced to 6 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and ordered to pay $16.8 million in restitution along with his co-defendant. The scheme had severe consequences for the investors who lost their money, and it may take Allen years to pay the restitution. René Higuita. A former Colombian soccer player, earned the nickname El Loco for his unconventional style of play. In 1993, he became involved in a high-profile kidnapping case, where he was tasked with delivering a ransom payment of $64,000 to a drug cartel. Instead of simply handing over the money, he negotiated with the kidnappers and met with the girl's father to discuss ransom demands. His involvement led to his arrest and imprisonment for a total of 3 years, before being released in 1998. Jori De Mata. In 2011, Jori De Mata, a former Georgian professional footballer, was arrested and found guilty of extortion charges. He was accused of shaking down people who lost money in illegal sports gambling. As a result, he received a 6-year prison sentence. This case reminds us of the risks involved in illegal gambling, including financial losses and criminal charges. It also underscores the importance of athletes maintaining ethical standards on and off the field to maintain their reputation. Despite his footballing skills, De Mata's involvement in illegal activities damaged his reputation and resulted in severe legal consequences. Adam Johnson. Adam Johnson was convicted of sexual crimes in 2014 after contacting a 15-year-old girl through social media while his partner was pregnant. He met with the girl in his car and gave her signed shirts, then later kissed her despite her being underage. Johnson was charged with sexual activity with a child under 16 and child grooming, and then pleaded guilty to 1 count of each a year later. He received a 6-year prison sentence and a £50,000 fine. Additionally, evidence of his involvement in animal pornography was found during the investigation, but he wasn't charged for these offenses. Lee Hughes. Lee had a bright future ahead, but he decided to mess it all up with some criminal offenses. He was sentenced to 6 years in jail in 2004 for driving recklessly and causing death. According to testimonies, he drove his Mercedes CL500 on the wrong side of the road and collided with Albert Frisbee's Renault. In the incident, passenger Douglas Graham was killed and his wife was injured, while Frisbee ended up in a wheelchair. Lee was guilty of his actions and spent more time and energy on redemption. He was released from prison in 2007 and resumed his football career. And that is all for today. From Maradona to Ronaldinho and Dani Alves, these cases serve as a reminder that anyone, regardless of their status or profession, can face criminal charges. Sometimes the consequences of fame or the desire for more money can lead to these situations. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Don't miss out on this video here next. Click it now.